Hello, guys, and welcome back after a little while break to the Champions of Wellness podcast. And thank you guys so much for tuning in with us today. And what we have for you today is finally the last episode of this kind of trilogy series about sound. And
And
what we're gonna
just
be
so you guys know, this is not a new host. He just grew a little bit facial hair.
Yeah, I grew a little bit of facial hair. Let me know what you guys think about the new look. Trying it out for a bit, but we'll see how it goes. It's like pretty grown in at this point.
hmm
I think at least for the winter time, this is what I'm gonna be rocking. But uh, if you guys really don't mess with it, then I'll switch back to the fully shaven look.
hmm
But yeah, this is the new look going forward. But yeah, also before we start, please, like always, like and subscribe to this channel. We're here on YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. So please check out all of those social media platforms and support us. It really helps us out. And the more you guys support us, the more we can keep bringing you this type of content. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please put them in the chat. And thank you so much for tuning in with us today.
Yeah, and this episode today will be about the science and water applications of sound. I know we talked about the history as well as giving you an introduction, but today we're gonna kind of wrap it up today, but also talk about how it can relate to real life and as well as the science aspect.
Yeah, so with that introduction and with that history episode, we kind of wanted to give you a good understanding and a good background of the origins of sound, and we went into all of the different traditions that have been practiced regarding sound all over the world. And now that you've had that sort of background knowledge, now we're going to get into the stuff that you can sort of think about and apply to your own daily life. But starting this conversation off first, another unique thing about sound that uh, is really good to know is that sound is a pressure wave moving through matter. And why this kind of definition matters about seeing sound as a pressure wave is because pressure waves do not require consciousness, ears, or interpretation. All they require is a medium, elasticity, and time. So a medium for that pressure wave to move through, elasticity for the range of it to move through, so it can oscillate up and down, and then also time or the duration for which that pressure wave is occurring. And what we notice in living tissue is that living tissue satisfies all of these components as being a medium, having properties of elasticity, and also following principles of time. So the body is not acoustically neutral. It's actually, as you know, 60 to 70% water, reinforced with collagen in a lot of the tissues, partitioned or separated by membrane surfaces and membranes, and also structured by the cytoskeleton to give it a really strong backbone. And from a physics standpoint, the body is sort of this coupled vibrational system. And what this coupled vibrational system means is that sound enters the body or biology in two ways. So we have perceptual, which would be what you hear through something like this earbud that I have on right now. And then you also have um, a way of entry through mechanical stress. And mechanical stress is any deformation, stress, or motion that happens to the body. So mechanical stress can be my arm stretching out and then me realizing, oh, this is my end range of motion or this is uncomfortable, and then bringing it back towards my center line.
Yeah, and also you can kind of view sound as a kind of like a load. Like if you have like a weight in the gym, it's going to facilitate muscle growth and things like that. You can kind of see sound as a thing like weightlifting.
Yeah, and it just shows you that a lot of people discuss sound more on the perceptual level and not as much on the mechanical level, which, like Joshin said, is you can kind of relate to as weight in the gym or experiencing load when you're performing anything like weightlifting. And the term, I guess, for this would be mechanobiology. Um, Hence the name. The mechano is that more mechanical deformation and stress, and then the biology of how it's reacting to it and how cells respond to the force that is being put on it. And modern mechanobiology shows that cells are not actually passive and that they contain mechanosensitive ion channels, tension dependent signaling pathways, and cytoskeletal networks that transmit force across the cell. So you have all of these pathways and mechanisms put in place to react to the tension or force that is being put onto your cells. And when a mechanical force is applied to tissue, your membranes will bend. You're going to have a lot of ion flux changes in your cells. Something as significant as gene expression can shift, and metabolic pathways will adjust and adapt to the force that's being applied to it. So,
Also, the force of sound is not gonna instantly change the way your cells work and things like that. So you don't want to see it as an immediate fix, but it's more of something that you can add as well as like kind of help your cells adapt over time.
yeah, exactly. And this whole mechanism is called mechanotransduction, and this is showing how sound is very simple and one of the most rhythmic mechanical inputs that you can have in your body because it's oscillatory and has all of those different three components that I was talking about with the time elasticity um, and and the fact that it has to travel through a medium. It all contributes um, to everything that happens in your body as far as cellular processes. And the timing of which things occur in biology and in your body really holds a lot of significance.
Yeah,
And
like rhythmic sounds are really affecting how we perceive a situation. Like, say you were sleeping in the summer and you woke up in the morning due to a lawnmower being really loud on the outside. That's because of the sudden change in the rhythm within your body. And you're going from very slow and very relaxed to a very overwhelming and high volume sound.
yeah, and your body has so many different types of receptors that are able to detect and interpret and react to all of these different forms of sound. So now you know that sound is not just what you hear, but also what you're feeling as well. And it can be what you're feeling onto the most um, tiniest scale ever. Like for example, if you've ever been to the doctor and have had the knee jerk reflex, where they kind of whack your knee very slightly with the I don't know what the thing is called. It's just a metal tool that they'll knock your uh, knee joint with, and your cells automatically have, or your muscles automatically have that jerk reflex because it can detect that tiny stretch going on. So it's counteracting it by um, extending the quadriceps muscle and flexing. Excuse me, not flexing the hamstrings.
And also, you can see how sound is like a chain reaction. Like, if you had a more calming beat or something that's a little tuned down to how you're used to, your breath rate would reduce as well as your heart rate over time, and then you would begin to relax. So overall, it will kind of give you a little chain of events and later allow you to relax more. And you can use this to your advantage. Say if you want a more upbeat attitude before a workout, you can make have a sound that's uplifting.
Yeah, and some recent data has actually been showing that cells exposed to controlled sound vibrations can actually exhibit altered cytoskeletal organization, changes in adhesion behavior, and shifts in gene expression profiles, which are just showing how the body is adapting and interpreting almost every single signal that the external environment is giving it. And it reinforces the idea that biology is very force sensitive and contributes to many things that happen.
What type
Um,
of gene changes have you seen, or uh, like changes within the body?
it this paper doesn't specify um what different expression is happening. But I I'm just guessing uh with weightlifting as being an example, just for muscle repair, gene expression being altered to supplement that. But that's something I actually am not 100% sure on what they were exactly talking about. Um, but yeah, and ultrasound, as you guys know, is also another prime example of how sound is really interacting with the world and with our body. And what ultrasound is it's a sound energy above the range of hearing, and it's delivered with a precise frequency, a defined amplitude, and controlled focus. And the reason we use ultrasound in medicine is to image tissue, break kidney stones, ablate tumors, modulate neural activity, and enhance targeted drug delivery. And this matters because ultrasound demonstrates one critical rule is which is that sound affects biology when it is quantified, constrained, and dosed. So there's a really high specificity to how or to what sound you're using to affect the body. Because if it's not quantified, constrained, and dosed, and it's just random, you're not gonna invoke the same response or targeted response that you're trying to have on the body. And moving on to the speed of sound and why the medium, which is your body, actually matters, is that sound travels at different speeds depending on the medium that it is in. So, for example, out in the air, just in the open, it's going to be much slower than in a much denser medium like a liquid or a solid. So it's going to be much faster in water and the very fastest in dense solids.
And you can imagine how that moves through our body. If it's affecting how it moves faster through water and a solid, our body is made of water and is also solid. So you can kind of imagine how it would affect our body.
Yeah, and we have a lot of we have 16 to 70% water in our body that is moving through different systems, and we pretty much have like a full waterworks system throughout our body in the form of the different vessels and systems. And you can kind of see sound is traveling through mediums like that. We have both um, liquid like and also dense tissue where the sound is being traveled through. And some of the interfaces or specific interfaces that we see in the body is bone and fluid, membrane and the cytoplasm, and fascia and muscle. And sound doesn't pass through these interfaces uniformly. It creates what we call patterns of stress, and and the reason and the fact that it creates patterns of stress is the reason why frequency, amplitude, and duration matter a lot more than just random sound.
And also, kind of, so you can imagine it. Say you're listening to a song and it's more calming and as well as like kind of like a melody that makes you feel relaxed, you can also get brought to tears as well. So that's also bringing out stress and emotion and releasing it. And you can use sound to even heal yourself on a mental and emotional level.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we kind of covered a little bit about that and what different types of frequencies you can listen to on, I think, the music podcast. But um uh each each sound excuse me sound waves have different frequencies, and the frequencies will in turn, like we've been saying, have different effects and very specific effects on your body, your mental state, and everything that's going on. So you can kind of take advantage of that by picking certain frequencies to listen to when you want to maybe relax, tone down, or meditate. You can listen to um, hertz that are in or that are on the same waves as your brain waves. So that would be, for example, like binaural beats, which we're going to be getting into. Those are going to be on a very similar frequency to where your brain waves are operating. And if you can kind of match that, it's going to help for a lot more uh, or create a better environment for studying and learning. And I implement binaural beats time to time when I notice I'm losing focus often, or I'm too hyper, or I am too anxious, and I just want something to bring me down and help me use my brain a little bit better. Then I'll implement binaural beats.
Yeah, I kind of noticed how me listening to rap music or something like that while I'm studying, I can't really focus on the information as well as kind of grasp it as much when I have a more slowed and more calmer beat, and I'm able to understand information more and you can use that to your advantage. Like a lot of people have sleep issues at nighttime. You can even less noise is better at nighttime, but if you have sleep problems, you can try to use rain sounds or something like that in the background to help you get into ease and a relaxed state.
Yeah, definitely. And we're gonna get a little bit more in depth into binaural beats as this podcast moves along. But the next topic I want to talk about, and we've covered a little bit on one of the previous episodes, is somatics. And somatics is very often misunderstood because it's visually striking. You see all these very precise geometrical patterns emerging from the vibrating plates when people try out um, different frequencies on the plate, and you'll see all of these different patterns emerge. And the what people immediately assume when seeing this is that they jump to biological or therapeutic conclusions, and that is not directly supported by evidence, but somatics does tell us a lot about how sound is operating on a physics level. And it demonstrates that sound is something far more fundamental and far more important than we even think about, and has many layers to it. Um, and one of the key things about somatics specifically that I have learned from watching it is that vibration imposes constraint on matter. So when you have the surface or the medium that you're doing the somatics, or you have the sand on, um, that medium is vibrating at that specific frequency that you set it to. Um, and what happens is standing waves form, and these standing waves create regions of minimal movement called nodes, and regions of maximal movement called antinodes. So you have this plate here, and then you have regions where you have the nodes and there's minimal movement. And then you have regions where you have a lot of movement and the particles are jumping and scattering all over the place, which are the antinodes. And since the antinodes are super active, all of the particles on the plate are going to migrate eventually towards the nodes where it's a lot much more stable and a lot calmer. And
And
they're
I
going to
have a
collect
video.
and form like lines and different types of geometrical patterns.
Yeah, I was just trying to pull up a video right here, so you guys kind of can visualize it. Let me see. Can you see that song?
No.
There we go. Are you able to see that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The first experiment for the cymatics music video is called a Chladni plate. Now, Chladni plate's basically a metal plate attached to the top of the speaker. There's sand on top of the plate, and you play different tones through the speaker. The plate vibrates, which forms different shapes depending on the frequency of the sound.
Well, we blew up a lot of speakers with the Chladni plate. So there was a lot of experimenting around the Chladni plate, primarily looking at how much volume we can put through there, how much sand to actually put on the plate, and the different shapes of plates and what different patterns would be created because of those shapes. But what we were really testing was what frequencies create the most interesting repeatable patterns, because that was a key point. So we ended up playing pretty much every audio frequency through the plate to see what different shapes it would form.
And for most frequencies, it doesn't really do much. But when it hits a frequency that resonates with the plate, it forms a really nice pure shape. So we found out what those tones were, and those were the tones we used to draw the plate in the video.
And yeah, that's like a really good depiction of somatics. And like those guys said, at certain frequencies, the antinodes are much more distinct and they create much more distinct patterns instead of having all of those particles spread across the board. And with each new beat or new tone that they were playing that had a different frequency, the pattern as you saw in the video would change, which means that the regions of antinodes and nodes would also constantly be changing as well as they were kind of tuning the frequency either up or down. And what somatics kind of shows us from a physics perspective is that vibration can create order from randomness. And that's kind of what we were really emphasizing on the History of Sound podcast, that order comes, that vibration creates order from randomness. Like with all the creation stories that we listed and talked about, a lot of them began with the creator speaking something into existence and then suddenly creating the world and a bunch of order and a bunch of different things just from speaking, just from channeling all that randomness now into order through the vibration of speaking. And frequency determines which patterns are energetically stable. And they also included this just in that video as well. The patterns that are the frequencies that excuse me, this is like a little bit tricky to word. The different frequencies have patterns in which are more favorable or more energetically stable. And when you see a super energetically stable pattern, then that's when you're going to see almost perfectly all of the particles collecting along the lines of that node. So you're not going to have a lot of scattered particles like throughout the board, you're going to have very intense lines in the shape of whatever pattern that frequency makes. And that also brings me to the point and suggests that geometry is not imposed externally, and that it emerges from wave behavior, like we have been seeing.
And also,
So-
everybody, I want to say everybody is different and everybody responds to certain things differently. So if you find out what frequency your body agrees with, you can then, in the future, maybe help with recovery or things like that you're dealing with, health issues, and also use sound to create a better life for yourself.
Yeah, because there are sound therapies out there, and they all kind of suggest or pay attention to this aspect that we can see through the example of somatics, that bringing in sound or introducing sound to the body can have an effect or have a response on us. And when you pick the proper frequencies of sound, you can actually create responses that are very healing and are very relaxing for the body, which is definitely a huge benefit. And to wrap up kind of this conversation about somatics is if you want to just take something away from it, it's that it teaches us that frequency is a structural parameter and not an abstract label. And it really shows that when energy is delivered rhythmically and specifically, matter will not respond randomly. It responds by settling into forms that satisfy the constraints imposed by the wave. So the wave imposes the constraints, and then all of the particles surrounding form into this beautiful looking pattern. And to build on the idea of somatics, we now have another aspect of sound, which is seen by something called sonoluminescence. And sonoluminescence happens when sound focuses energy into a single point. And it takes this kind of discussion that we've been having with somatics away from the structure of sound and more into energy concentration and its capability of concentrating energy to a specific point.
Mm-hmm. And also, I have a visual as well for you guys. It's about a couple of minutes, so let me see.
And it's best for you guys to see what this looks like, because it really is fascinating.
Are you able to see it, son?
Not yet.
Okay. There you go. This video is not as high quality, but you can see like what happens here.
Sonoluminescence.
The first time I saw sonoluminescence was in a darkened room. I was transfixed to look at this spherical flask of fluid. And you'd look into the center, and in the center see a glowing blue-purple light, which could be seen with the unaided eye. It looked like a star in the heavens.
Seth Putterman called it the star in a jar, a tiny spot of bright light contained in a flask of liquid. This star in a jar is made when a sound wave is passed through a small bubble inside a flask of liquid. And this sound wave makes the bubble do something remarkable. First, it expands, then it collapses. And this collapse happens so violently that vapor molecules trapped inside the bubble slam together and heat up so much that the bubble gives off an incredible burst of heat and light, several thousand times a second, giving the appearance of a star. What made the phenomenon so exciting was the temperature of this star in a jar. On its surface alone, the light burns at tens of thousands of degrees. And Seth Putterman now contemplated a tantalizing possibility. Could the core of the collapsing bubble be even hotter? Hot enough for fusion.
One of the mysteries of sonoluminescence is to determine exactly how hot the interior of the bubble gets. In the sun, the interior can be millions of degrees, hot enough to cause fusion. And the thought crossed my mind that perhaps inside the collapsing bubble, the interior of the bubble might also get hot enough to cause fusion.
If so, this would be something truly amazing. By simply bombarding tiny bubbles with sound waves, temperatures of over 10 million degrees would be created. And nuclear fusion, the same reaction that powers the sun, would be happening almost effortlessly here on Earth.
Just stress sweating.
Yeah, and that video really has a good visual on what sonoluminescence actually looks like, and just like the researcher was telling, that bubble or that little bubble of light that they found can be up to millions and millions of degrees, comparable to the sun. So so close, in fact, that it might even cause fusion. And to think that one wave of frequency or one sound wave caused that little tiny bubble to reach that sort of substantial temperature is completely insane. And if you kind of like connect the dots, you can start to think, oh, if sound was the first thing to be introduced into the world, that sound could have been enough energy, or could have caused enough energy concentration to bring order and to bring things into the world, like the sun and all of these different things. It could probably relate to the Big Bang Theory. I mean, I'm just throwing stuff out, but there's a lot of theories or things that can be kind of built on upon just from this experiment alone.
And also, you can imagine how we can use sound to direct energy within our bodies. How we're mainly made of water. You can see how the effect of sound plays a role in energy when it hits water or something solid.
Yeah, and the significance of sonoluminescence is that oscillatory pressure that is being created can concentrate energy to very extreme levels in these confined fluid systems, like you saw with that demonstration or model that they showed in the video. And again, something like this only happens under very specific and correct circumstances. And under these circumstances, sound had the ability to compress the matter, raise the temperature in a very local position, generate plasma-like states, which then emitted the light that was visible to the naked eye. And fundamentally, it expands what can happen physically regarding what sound or acoustics can do, especially just to something as simple as a container of fluid. And it matters really with this example because you see a lot of the components that they had in the experiment in our own biology, because our own biology is built from fluids, membranes, confined spaces, pressure gradients, and oscillatory inputs. So we have all of the factors that are able to create such a phenomenon. Maybe it might not be on the level or or energetic concentration as what they were able to achieve, but that's not to say that it's not contributing to our own energy concentration and generation.
And you can see in like the modern day and age, a lot of people are maybe not as realizing how sound plays an effect to our daily life. Like how, say, somebody lived in the city, hearing all the traffic noises and things like that really affects how somebody sleeps as well as go throughout their day. So we can use sound therapy to kind of guide us in a better way. And I'm thinking, like I said before, when we do trigger, we play some little calming music to invite the body into this kind of state where you're relaxed and also trusting of the individual treating you. So may play a big role in the future when it comes to healing as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. And it brings the role of sound up so many positions in what people's perception of it has been for so long. A lot of people think it's a passive input that you hear and just notice as you go about your day, but it really has a lot of impact on on your body. And going in or kind of relating it to the specificity or specific conditions that need to be met, you kind of should see your body in the same way as that. And to kind of like, I know that sounds confusing, but the way you should go about it is see your body and try to make all of the conditions that it's in the perfect circumstances for energy concentration to be maximized. So what does that mean? You getting the basic things that we've been telling you to do throughout all of our podcasts: getting sunlight, eating local, eating healthy, whole foods, getting proper amounts of sleep, doing all of these basic needs or basic things in your everyday life to maximize your conditions so that all of these processes with sound can be maximized in your body.
Yeah, also listening to music on making sure you're listening through not through Bluetooth or something like what I'm using right now. I try to use something wide or even through speakers. If you're trying to consume sound in a better way, you want to make sure you're avoiding those harmful EMFs as well as things that might affect your body.
And yeah, especially with speakers, it's much different because of the medium. With with speakers, the sound now has to travel through air as the medium. But with something like headphones or Bluetooth, it's literally right in your ear. So even though this is like we're not really setting good examples right now, but this is like pretty much direct contact to your ear canal instead of having to travel all of that space from the speaker to your ear. Now you have direct interference involved, and if you had a speaker, the sound waves would not be as strong because of the medium. And that relates to what I kind of said to you guys in the very beginning, that sound operates with three things in mind, which are elasticity, time, and the medium that it's traveling through. So now we're gonna move on to a little bit more topics about how you can now apply all of these concepts into your daily life. And excuse me, what we have here is binaural beats, like we've been talking about. And binaural beats occupy kind of an unusual position in sound science because they sit in between the intersection of auditory perception, neural timing, and what people kind of experience with it subjectively. what a binaural beat is and what the definition of it is a beat that occurs when two slightly different frequencies are presented separately to each ear. And what happens when your auditory system is presented with the binaural beat is it doesn't perceive two tones, it actually perceives a third rhythmic modulation equal to the frequency difference. So if you have one beat and the other beat, that maybe one is on a higher tone than the other one, your brain actually hears a third beat which falls in between, and that frequency is kind of like the difference in space between the two. And what research has shown with binaural beats is that the brain, excuse me, not the brain, that what is occurring is small but measurable shifts in neural oscillatory activity. And there has been actually a bit of difference and variability between individuals, but there are much stronger effects when subjects are already relaxed or meditative. So this is extremely effective when you're already in a relaxed or meditative state and you want to take it even further and even to a deeper level.
And have you used binaural beats in terms of studying or things like that?
Yeah, I use it.
Noticed like a big difference?
Yeah, I use it. I guess I've tried to use it for like kind of quick studying or quick memorization, but I don't think it really serves that purpose. I think it's exactly what I just said now. Like if you are already in a studying state, but you want to kind of immerse even deeper into learning and into what you're doing, then this is like a really good tool to help you get into studying even deeper. I would say that it doesn't really work as well if you're not like in the mood to study. So if you're studying and you're not really invested in it and you're not like mindfully invested in it, I don't think it's going to help you then. Only when you start first mindfully invested in your learning and then add binaural beats on top, then it will take you into a much better state and deeper state for learning. If that makes sense.
Where can you find binaural beats? Is there like a playlist or somewhere where you usually find
there
people that want to listen to it? Or
yeah, you can just go on YouTube and type binaural beats. It's gonna be like a very relaxing, consistent sound, and there's different versions that you can find. But yeah, you can just look it up on YouTube or any music app like Spotify, SoundCloud would have it, and you can just have it playing when you're in that type of states. And it's not gonna like I said, it's not gonna force you or force your brain into specific states. It just helps you kind of expand it even more and go deeper when you're already in like a relaxed state or a very cognitive and learning state. And what we also have to talk about is the institution called Centerpoint and Monroe Institute. And these two institutions are important because they treat binaural beats as state facilitation tools, which aims to reduce your mental noise and hone in and focus in on things, support relaxation, help users enter meditative or introspective states, and provide kind of consistent thing that you can use for daily practice or however often you need to get into those type of states. And yeah, it's something you can easily use and go on these sites, and they have a lot of resources there. Again, it's Centerpoint and Monroe Institute. They have a lot of topics and things relating to sound. and you can check them out if you would like to use their resources. I haven't used or found myself to use any of theirs specifically yet, but I know some people and they've had good experiences with them.
Yeah, and I can even, after this podcast, I can put in the comment section below their references so that you can go check them out.
And now we have a little bit of a controversial topic, which includes Royal Raymond Rife. So, what Royal Raymond Rife supposedly discovered and claimed is that he claimed to have identified the specific frequencies for various pathogens, including those that were associated with major diseases like tuberculosis, typhoid, leprosy, and even cancer. And he, like, with the identification of these specific frequency for these pathogens, he then developed advanced optical microscopes that he claimed could observe living viruses and other microbes at magnifications much, much farther beyond than what was at the standard time. And this allowed him to identify these frequencies by observing the auras or the colors of the organisms that he was looking at. And Rife and his supporters claim that by using his beam ray device to transmit these frequencies into the body, this could actually eliminate diseases without harming the healthy tissue. So he said you can pretty much use this device to eliminate disease without harming the healthy tissue at all, which was really groundbreaking at the time. And the reason why it's very controversial is because a lot of things happened in the ending of his research with all of this stuff, and modern science doesn't really support a lot of the beliefs and ideas that he was talking about. And at this point, there's just not a lot of rigorous testing and reproduction of these experiments. So Rife's kind of work has died down a lot and come to a halt. But I think his work is really interesting, and if what he found was kind of correct or can be supported by data, it's definitely something super groundbreaking for everyone to know, and should be a very, very useful and beneficial device for lots and lots of people who are suffering from any of these diseases or pathogens that he's able to identify.
Yeah, and you can imagine how we have our own internal frequency and resonance, as well as those certain pathogens do as well. And you can use sound to alter as well as change the cells inside of our body over time. So on a cellular level, you can maybe affect those pathogens by eliminating them, like San was talking about, using his methods.
Yeah, exactly. And lastly, I just want to kind of sum up that you want to just take advantage of all the conditions that you're in control of. So the way to kind of focus in all of the everything regarding sound is to maximize your environment. So you can implement things like the binaural beats and the sound therapies to help you bring you back to an optimal state. But you can also just be doing the general basic things that we've been recommending, and that's going to help you and contribute to optimizing your energy regarding sounds anyways, because your body is going to now be in those very specific conditions that make it very easy to generate energy with all of the processes and things we were talking about throughout this episode.
And there's a lot of things that we repeat, like getting sunlight and having grounding during the day to regulate your magnetism. So there's a lot of things that we're throwing at you. We don't expect everybody to be perfect, but think on a weekly basis, see how much sunlight you're getting, as well as how much sound you're introducing to yourself, and when it comes to in a study session or things like that. Include all these things during a week, and you'll see a difference over time. And maybe later it will become a consistent and more daily basis type of thing. So kind of just slowly incorporate it. But even if you want to fully incorporate it, that's up to you. But we want you to kind of live your life in a better way.
Yeah, because sound is, not sound. Life as a system is dependent on all of these sound properties like oscillations, vibrations, coherence, and even periods of low and high noise. Life is all dependent on these different factors of sound, and the best way to go about it is to tune your body and have all the conditions met properly so that all of these interactions are happening in the best way and most optimal way possible.
And if you're doing all these things at the same time, it can be met on a much larger scale where you're improving drastically compared to on a slower and smaller amount. The more things you do to better your life, the faster you'll improve and get better.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess to sum this up, what I want you guys to take away from this podcast is that you should understand that sound creates order, and it's a constraint. It shapes matter, it applies force, it carries timing, and then finally reveals structure. And life did not evolve ignoring vibration, it evolved pretty much within it. Vibration is the basis for everything that you see around us, and it once you understand it, it stops being a form of entertainment and becomes something much deeper and more fundamental to life. It's rhythmic, it's responsive, and it's always reacting and sensitive to the forces that's moving in it and throughout it. So it's really good to keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. And also, sound is always all around us. You don't have to completely listen to music or things like that. Go outside on a beautiful day and just enjoy nature. Enjoy the nature sounds outside, the birds chirping, the trees blowing in the wind. Surround yourself in a good environment that will make you feel at ease and more calm, but also in an environment that maybe will make you feel more energized as well. Like in the gym, you're listening to more uplifting music. So kind of play with your environments and see what your body agrees with.
Yep, exactly. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning with us on today's episode of Champions of Wellness, and we hope to see you guys on next week's podcast. Thank you so much.
See you guys.